Right now, while you're watching this, one of my businesses is making money. A stranger is buying something from a machine I own. Someone's paying rent on a storage unit I haven't looked at in months. A design I uploaded years ago just sold itself again. None of those are the business making me the most money. I started 7 boring businesses that actually worked, and one that quietly burned money for months before I finally killed it. The one I was most afraid to start ended up making the most, while asking the least of me. I expected the exciting ones to pay off and the boring ones to just survive. It was the opposite. By the end, you'll see why and which one nearly took me down with it. Passive didn't mean easy from day one. Every one of these was work at the start. What surprised me is that they eventually stopped needing me completely. I'm showing you these in the exact order I'd start in if I were doing it all over again. First one cost me less than a week's grocery bill. It's still running. Business 1 vending machines. I bought my first vending machine thinking I'd made it. 3 weeks later, still checking it daily, still seeing almost nothing. I'd bought an appliance, not a business. Then I noticed a second machine in a gym hallway on a wall that had made $0 a month before anything went there. Same machine, same snacks, same price. The only difference was the wall. I wasn't buying a machine. I was buying a spot. That gym hallway brought in $300 to $1,000 a month for about an hour of my time a week. My good machine kept limping along at a fraction of that because I'd never fixed the real problem. The mistake: my second machine sat somewhere convenient for me to drive to, not somewhere people actually stopped. Decent foot traffic on paper. Wrong kind in reality. It took twice as long to earn back what it cost. Everything I just told you was about location. Print on demand doesn't have a wall at all, and somehow it still works. Business 2, print on demand. There's a design I made 2 years ago that I'd genuinely forgotten existed until a notification said it just sold. I never printed it, shipped it, or touched it again. My first 10 designs did nothing: a coffee design, a dog lover design, something broad for anyone. Nearly nothing. I started thinking the whole thing was a myth. Then I made one design for a very specific kind of person, a particular type of shift worker, and it outsold all 10 broad ones combined in its first week. Nobody feels like a design made for anyone was made for them. Specific one every time. Margins run 70 to 90% because nothing sits in a warehouse costing me money while it waits. One specific hit paid for 10 failures and kept paying. Print on demand worked because I understood exactly who I was selling to. ATMs don't need me to understand anyone at all. Business 3, ATM network. I thought I'd already maxed out my vending locations. Then, at a bar with one of my machines, I overheard people asking the bartender where the nearest ATM was. Same wall I already had access to, I'd just never seen it as a second business. I put an ATM right next to the vending machine. Same owner, same one conversation. They said yes without hesitating. The ATM alone started outperforming the vending machine beside it. Same wall, 2 income streams, barely any extra work. A well-placed ATM nets $1,000 to $3,000 a month, 2 to 3 times the vending machine next to it. The mistake: I let one run dry over a weekend, its busiest 2 days. Lost an entire weekend of fees because I'd started taking it for granted. Everything so far has needed a physical spot in the real world. What's next doesn't exist anywhere except inside someone's head, mine. Business 4, digital courses. I noticed I'd explained the same thing to 5 different friends, almost word for word each time. The 5th time, I stopped mid-sentence. I'm already teaching a course just live, 1 person at a time, for free. So I recorded the answer once. From then on, I sent a link instead of repeating myself. Cost to start was close to 0. Once built right, it brought in $1,000 to $7,000 a month for a few hours of upkeep a week. The mistake nearly buried it. Before launch, I tried to answer everyone's version of the question instead of the one specific version I'd actually been asked. Broad, barely sold. Narrow, moved. That course took 3 days to record. It's already made more than a year of the consulting calls I used to give away for free. What's next sounds the most made up. I'm charging people to sleep somewhere I don't even own. Business 5 rental arbitrage. I used to assume real estate income required owning real estate. Then someone explained you could rent an apartment like anyone else, sublease it short term, and keep the difference without owning a single brick of it. Ownership, it turned out, was never the part that mattered. I found a well-located apartment, signed a normal lease, and got one thing in writing before signing: permission to list it short term. Furnished it, listed it, started charging per night instead of paying by the month. My rent was $800 a month. 20 nights booked at $60 to $120 a night brought in $1,200 to $2,400. I ran that math 3 times before I trusted it. The mistake: one slow reply to a guest at check-in. It sat in the reviews for months, and reviews are the only reason a stranger trusts you enough to book a place sight unseen. The next one is the one your grandfather already understood, and almost nobody under 30 ever considers. 5 in. If you're anything like me, you're already ranking these in your head. I'd genuinely like to know where you land. Drop the one you'd start with first, the one that didn't work. Quick honesty check. I put about $4,000 into a coffee cart outside a train station, completely convinced it would print money. It never got close. Every week I told myself 1 more month, because admitting it wasn't working meant admitting I'd lost it. No hidden insight was waiting at the bottom of that one. It just didn't work. Not every boring business is automatically a good one. That one just cost me money to learn that the hard way. 2 left, and they're the 2 that changed how I thought about all of this. Business 6 coin laundromat. I expected to buy a job coins to collect, machines to fix. The first week, I kept my phone volume up, waiting for a call. 3 weeks passed before I realized nobody had called once. I'd accidentally bought a dashboard instead. Modern laundromats run on card payment and report to an app which machine's running. What came in today? What's about to break? I check it like a weather app. 95% of laundromats are still open 5 years later. And the vending machine and ATM sitting inside it are the exact same 2 businesses, just running a second time inside a building I already own. The mistake? Again, location. Wrong neighborhood. And it bleeds for years before you admit it. Number 7 is the one I was most afraid to start, and it turned out to be the one doing the least work for the most money. Business 7 self-storage. I was terrified of this one. Over $1 million to get into a real facility. Bigger investment had to mean bigger headache. That felt like a law of nature. It's the easiest business I own. A customer finds a unit online, pays automatically, signs digitally, gets in with a code. If they miss a payment, the system charges the fee itself and escalates on its own. I'm not in that chain anywhere. The average customer keeps their unit over 14 months. I'd believe the amount of money something demanded up front would predict the attention it demanded afterward. This is the one that proved that completely wrong. I'm not renting boxes, I'm selling the solution to a problem life keeps manufacturing on its own. A move, a divorce, an inheritance nobody has room for. The mistake here isn't location. For once, it's letting the facility itself get neglected. Clean and secure rents itself. Neglected sends people to the competitor down the street. Highest cost on this list. Least amount of my actual life required, once it was running. That's exactly why it changed how I think about money, not because it made the most, but because it proved the thing I was scared of was never the size of the number. It was whether the business still needed me. This one didn't. None of the 7 did, in the end. 7 businesses that worked. 1 that didn't. A machine in a hallway. A design nobody remembers making. An apartment I don't own. A laundromat nobody brags about at dinner. A wall doing 2 jobs at once. A course I only had to say once. A storage unit I haven't looked at in months. Tell me which one you'd start with. I actually read the comments. None of them are making me money right now because I'm working. They're making money because, at some point, each one stopped needing me to. That's the whole thing I spent 8 businesses figuring out. One of them the hard way, without realizing it was the actual lesson the entire time.